Look at this merch! Isn't it great? Don't you agree that my goods are first rate? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl? The girl who has everything! I've got premium Blu-rays aplenty. I've got coasters and stickers galore. You want 4 factions? I've got 90. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. Character pins, thread dragonins, flashy depictions of Grindelwald and Sigmund Mortimer Deborah. There's a link down below. That's where to go to purchase this merch.
Whoop. That means we're now over here. Hey, everybody. Welcome to RPG Help Desk, where today we get to talk about map making with someone who legitimately enjoys making maps, which is, I'm hoping to learn your ways because I find it to be very tiresome and annoying, and I think maybe I'm just looking at it wrong or don't know the right techniques. So, here with us today to teach about maps is Jessa, aka Astral Marmot. Hi.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? I am excited to be here.
I'm really excited for you to be here because if y'all, I'll say it now, firing it off. Thanks, Honey Money, for the raid, and hi everybody, Honey Money and DT. Thanks for subbing with Prime. Appreciate it. I want to, if anybody has a question about maps, battle maps, world maps, all that, I want to get into both of them and beyond and between. I don't know, however many types of maps there are. Because you like making them, and I want to understand what is your starting immediately. What is your process of I want to make a map? Where do you immediately start?
Well, first of all, the instinct lives within me to make a map at all times.
Yeah.
I love making. That is just something that I thoroughly enjoy doing. I mean, probably going way, way back to when my parents were reading me Lord of the Rings and showing me the map in the book as we were reading so that I could figure out where we were going. Ever since then, I've just been into maps. So it's possible we just won't see eye to eye on this, Jesse. I have to say, but I think I can make a compelling argument that making maps is actually a beautiful and zen process. So for me, the first question, of course, is always whether I'm making an analog map or a digital map. Those are the, whether I'm going to be playing in person or I'm going to be playing online. That's the first question. Analog maps, I love making them too. Big grids on the table, taking cardboard and constructing them into different shapes and making I'm not I don't do the fancy terrain that you see other awesome GMs do. I would love to get into it if I had the time in the world and the ability to do it, but I will totally make a janky map out of cardboard and set it up on the table for my players, and they will have an excellent time, and we will all have an excellent time.
I am here for janky maps of cardboard. I am here for just drawing a tree on your hex map. I'm here for using Legos. I think
yes,
you're already using your imagination. Making it realistic is not required.
I actually completely agree with that. I think that is really important. We are all sitting down to use our imaginations together. If all you have is a grid map and a marker and all you can do is draw some boxes, then fantastic. Everybody will fill in the details.
Yeah.
You don't worry about that. I think making maps is a little bit, for me, self-indulgent, because I know that that's true. I know that my players will play with pretty much a couple of boxes drawn onto a white grid. They will totally play with that and be totally content with that. If I can make an awesome map that's going to spur their imagination even more, though, that's something special. And I think that that's what's great about maps, is that the devil is really in the details. My players have learned that I don't put any details onto my maps that I don't intend for them to interact with, or that I don't intend for it to be important. So they know to tear through every map that I make and be like, what's this over here? Why is this sword here? Why is this thing here? Why is that there? And it becomes part of the environmental storytelling of the game. So I guess the first question is always whether you're doing it analog or digital. If you're doing it digital, lots and lots of options open up. you've got a lot of great map making programs out there. I personally, for my battle maps, I use Dungeon Draft. For my world
Really
maps,
good.
I use Wonder Draft. I find both of those are excellent programs. They're made by the same person whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head right now. And
I can't help with names off the top of your head. I'm sorry.
that's quite all right. I'm sure we can look it up if necessary. One of these days, somebody will make a map making program where you can go from like the street level to the city level to the world level all within one program, and it's going to make $1 million when it does. Somebody needs to do that. Because right now it's all segmented into different map making programs. Like you really have to have separate programs in order to work on separate, like, levels of whatever you're working on.
Yeah, but just having like basically a tiered system, like world map looks like this. Click on this link, will take you to
Zooms in.
region map, which are
Yep.
technically separate but like are in the correct places. Oh, wow, that doesn't exist?
No, it's $1 million idea. Somebody needs to make it. Like somebody needs to make it, and I will buy it, and I will be its biggest evangelist when it comes out.
If I could program, I would get on that. I cannot program, so it won't be from me. I'm sorry. That $1 million belongs to someone else.
No, but I will be your biggest fan when you do make it, whoever makes it. I hope it's somebody who's listening to this call.
Dave, map zoom in like Google map style would just be too big. Like if you have like, oh, here's America, and I'm going to zoom into Philadelphia, the file size of that PNG would be too large, and like knowing where stuff is. So you would want something that like is essentially a, full res, like, I don't know, 1900 by 1080 picture of the US. And then there's a link that says Philadelphia, and you click that and it takes you to another high res picture, but not too big, of Philadelphia.
Right.
And all that within one program that you could build.
Right. Exactly.
That's cool. Dang.
I know. I fantasize about it. I'm like, that is the dream map making program. But there are good things that are out there right now. Now, both Wonder Draft and Dungeon Draft do cost money, and I like to make sure that I'm making free recommendations as well. So Incarnate is also out there.
Okay.
That is a program, a free map making program. They do have a paid version as well, but you can get a lot done in the free version. If you are making hex maps, there is Worldographer, which also has a free and a paid version, but the free version will get you very, very far. And that will help for hex maps and other larger scale programs that you might be, or maps you might be making. For me, the process of sitting down to make a map, to answer your original question, get back to that, just involves sitting down and first asking, like, what is essential? Right? What is absolutely essential to the base of, this map? Like, I need walls, I need a river, do I need like, what scale am I building on first? And then what essential things are part of the environment? And then I start from the environment and build up. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Like, do you think about like, oh, I want the environment of like, here's the encounters I want, or here's the wildlife I want, or here's the city planning I want. Like, do you think about all that? Do you have like things that you specifically start with? Is it adventure based? Like, I know here's what I want to do with it and build out from there. Because
yes, very much.
Oh, okay. So I find like all those hit my head at the same time, and I can't ever figure out which one to lead with. So like, I'm curious how you kind of zoom in on what you want and build out from there.
So I normally start with like what's necessary for the encounter, right?
Okay.
Like that's very much where I start out with. I'm not going to make a map unless there is a need for it, because otherwise all I will do is make maps. And so I have to set limits for myself to be like, okay, I need to make a map for this specific encounter that I know is actually going to happen. So all of those pieces have to be in place. And then from there, I think starting on, I really approach it from the question of player interactability. So what is it that the players are going to want to interact with, and what is it that is going to be, or what could be interesting to interact with from a player perspective. Um, and I try not to add any elements that don't, like, some things, are constrainers, right? Things like walls, rivers, other environmental details. So you want to think about your constrainers first. And then after that, you want to think about, like, what is engaging? Like, what is actually going to, like, if I put this tree here, is it going to, like, serve a purpose, or is it just decorative? If is it like, um, is there a pile of treasure here? Is there something, like, obvious that, like, they can interact with easily? Are there things that are hidden? Um, all of those kind of things.
Okay. All right, here's another one. And I feel like now talking about maps, I'm very much just like I'm very critical of myself when I'm building maps, and maybe that's the
Hmm.
biggest problem to it. How do you make something that like both visually makes sense? Like here's a building that is the proper size for a building, and also it doesn't look like too generic or dumb. Like I drew a 20 by 20 square. That's a house. Ah, another 20 by 20 square. Well, that's also a house. Like, what do you think about when building, and how do you kind of make something that has the balance of like visually pleasing and interesting, but also functional?
I always lead towards readability, right? Like,
Okay.
so functionality is definitely much more important than aesthetics. Like, because otherwise, again, I will get lost in the aesthetics, and then you will end up with something incredibly pretty that is totally non-functional, and no one can actually read it. So starting from the place, like the perspective of readability of the actual map, is really, really key to me. How do you make something? I find that, like, okay, when we're talking about a battle map specifically,
Mhm.
program like Dungeon Draft makes it super, super easy. So Dungeon Draft, like, allows you to download assets from other creators. So you have a ton of different assets that come from. You're not just stuck with the base program design. So if you made everything in the Dungeon Draft style, it would always look very generically Dungeon Draft, right? But you're not
Mhm.
limited to that, because you can download other assets from other community creators, and end up creating something that looks, you know, completely different. They have sci-fi assets, they have fantasy assets, they have assets for horror, they have every type of genre. Um, so I try very hard to stay with making the map readable. I think that that's, again, the most important thing, because I will get lost in the sauce otherwise. Um, but in terms of aesthetics, like, I don't think you should be afraid of a generic 20 by 20 building, right? It's the same thing as not being afraid of, like, just drawing boxes onto a grid map, right? Like, you shouldn't be afraid of that, because that's readable, right? That's incredibly easy to engage with and understand. Your players walk into that, they know exactly what they're dealing with, right? 20 by 20 building. No illusions, no drama. Well, unless there are illusions and drama, and that's
Well,
part of the story. But
valid, yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I really just, again, I try to focus on functionality first, and then I spend time on aesthetics, because that's the thing that I want to spend the most time on.
True. Miss Harmony bringing up kids' maps and tourist locations are mostly accurate, but still fun. Yeah, that's a good point. Also, thinking of like theme park maps, where it's like a very
Hmm.
stylized version of it, where it's mostly just like points of interest, exaggerated, but in generally correct direction from each other.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. I
What?
think you can learn a
Okay.
lot from things like, oh, I was going to say, I think you can learn a lot from things like kids maps and tourist maps and other, like, looking out in the real world at how maps are designed for people to use every day. I think can be really instructive.
Mm. Yeah, because like subway or like metro maps, also where it's like this is
Yes.
not the proper distance or maneuvering, but it's the basic out like layer of how things connect and interact with each other.
Hmm.
All right, this is don't be as hard on myself. Got it. Good to know. It's a big thing I'm learning from this. What do you do about
Yeah.
like bigger maps, like region maps or world maps for
Um,
uh the mix of artistic, like this isn't just woods and this square equals town. Also, that was my
I
Slack,
really
everybody. Sorry.
I really like Wonder Draft for that. Again, the diversity of assets makes it so that the maps don't feel generic.
Okay.
Um, it allows you to work on both kind of a city level and a full world level where you can make full world maps. Or you can go down to the region level, which is helpful as well. Um, yeah, I would say that um, it really depends on the program you're using and on your goal for the map, right? So like you were saying, I think bringing up subway maps is a great example because when you're on the subway, the distance between your two stations doesn't matter. So they don't code that information into the maps, right? Like you just need to know where the next station is in relation to other stations. And so everything is relational on the map, how everything relates to each other. That can be a powerful tool. If it's not important, if distance and exploration are not important in your campaign, using a relational map like that can actually be very, very helpful for your players, right? Like, okay, yeah, we know that the next city over is Harksburg, and then the city after that is like Newton and whatever. And that's all they need to know. If distance and exploration are important to your campaign, then I would strongly urge you to have a hex map. If that's your type of thing, where you actually measure out the hex distances on the map and like determine, okay, like Newburgh or Newton and Hawksburg are 30 miles away from each other, and that's important because the players are going to need to travel that 30 miles and they might have adventures along the way.
Mhm. Makes a lot of sense. That's generally not how I do it. Always appreciate when someone does that, where it's like, oh, they're this far apart from each other. It's like, that's great. Information does not stick in my head. I'm like, I don't know, probably like a day's journey. Sure,
Mhm.
that's how long I want you to not be there for. So that's how far it is. But then I have to remember that that's how far these 2 points are supposed to be from each other.
You need to make a relational map for yourself, your own little subway map.
I think so. And maybe doing that, like, I'm curious if you do this or if other people do this, because this would be helpful for me in a thing like that of like, all right, here's uh, what was it? Sparksboro and what did you say?
Hawksburg and Newton, close
Hawksburg and
enough.
Newton. So we know that they're 30 miles from each other, and we'll say that's a day's travel. Take the map, draw a line between the two, and write 30 miles, 1 day, colon, horse. And it's like, okay, now I know everybody is aware of how far something is from one another, and that's something that could be added to the map. And then when they do Harksboro or Harksville to far off Assville, it's like, oh, that's 100 miles, and that's 3 days, and then that can be marked. Does anybody else do that? Because I feel like the map would get crowded, but also be very helpful.
See, I just use hexes. Like each
Okay.
hex represents depending on the map that I'm making, I'll usually do a hex equals 6 miles. Sometimes I'll do a hex equals 12 miles.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll do a hex 24 miles on like a very large map. So I'll just have each hex equaling sometimes 30. It really depends on the map. And so each hex, let's say, is 24 miles, and then you can just count the hexes in between locations and figure out, okay, if it takes me 1 day to travel one hex, then it's going to take me 3 days to travel to Newton.
You're really selling me on hexes for world maps.
I love hex maps. I think they're awesome. I'm actually making a whole video about hex maps right now because I think they're great. And I think that they kind of fell out of favor, but they're coming back. They're really coming back. There's all kinds of awesome like games that are coming out right now. Land of Eam is one of them. There's just that just have awesome hex maps in them, and you can do incredible exploration. Um, I think for some of us who came up on D&D, like I started playing during 3.5,
Mhm.
and by then hexes had kind of fallen out of favor, right? In
Yeah.
fact, I think the last time that D&D mentions hex maps is in second edition somewhere. And then actually, well, no, they did bring it up again in fifth edition, but the rules are a little flexible. It could
Mm.
use some clarity. Point being that it hasn't been a part of the game for a long time, and it's only just now coming back as a thing that people are beginning to appreciate again. And I, for one, couldn't be happier.
I'm learning that I should also be happy about this. It sounds very useful. And All right, then here's a dumb question. What do you do for like if you have a hex and you know everything's supposed to be a certain distance and size? What do you do for like scale of like this is a small town versus a city? This is, for like a forest, I feel like that's pretty easy if it's like, I'm only gonna fill half of the hex, but like I can't draw a tiny town in a little hex, but like all of
No,
them
no,
are gonna
no,
be
you
kind
just
of
key
big.
them. You just key them with different symbols. So, like, this
Oh,
is I have my
okay.
tiny town symbol and then my big town symbol, and I just
Okay.
use my big town symbol. That one has a couple of turrets on it, and my tiny town symbol is just like a little hut.
Okay.
Um, and so that way they'll know, oh, we're coming across a tiny town versus, oh, we're coming across a big city.
And then just have like a little legend on the side of like these are what these symbols
Yep.
mean.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Makes it real easy, real clear, and then distance matters. And I like it like for
Hmm.
distance and exploration to matter in my games. I think it's fun to spend time exploring in the wilderness, and or it can be fun to spend time exploring in the wilderness. And like for games like D&D where that's somewhat de-emphasized, I think something like a hex map or putting in a hex crawl into your game as your players go between cities is something that really adds something to the game.
I agree. That is a thing that I really like about, I don't do a lot of hex crawling, but that like stuff between places matters, that it's not just you're essentially not just fast traveling.
Hmm.
And like even necessarily like it doesn't have to be a full-fledged encounter or like oh my gosh and then but just going like oh you get reined in and you're if you're focusing on rations like oh and you had to use extra 2 days worth of rations because you got slowed down and stuck. It's like
Hmm.
we were banking on only needing this many, now there's a wrench in this, or like oh you find something cool, or like yeah, I think that's neat.
I completely agree. Um, And you don't have to key an encounter in every single hex that they go through, but you can have something interesting happening in most hexes. And not only is it interesting to say, okay, here's this thing that's happening in this hex, but like, how do these various hexes relate to each other when the parties
Mm-hmm.
aren't away? So, or aren't there. So, for example, let's say you have three hexes and one of them has orcs in it, one of them has tigers in it, and one of them has awakened trees in it, right? So the party can go through and they might encounter any of those. They go through the tiger hex and they encounter a mother tiger protecting her cub, right? Then they go into the orc hex and they find that the orcs are actually hunting the tigers because it's a rite of passage for them to like go into manhood in order to hunt a tiger and wear the tiger's skin. And we find out that the orcs worship the awakened trees as like guards. So you can create this whole like mythology around like this region of the world where how these hexes interact with each other instead of just viewing them as separate entities, right? Like they are a living breathing space and they have interaction and engagement with each other, and things will change as the players go.
That's really cool. I do really like that.
Something else you might enjoy,
Yeah.
Jesse,
Yeah.
is the idea that some hex crawls, the way they do it is they have a map that the GM has, obviously, but then you provide a blank hex crawl map to your players, and they fill it in as they go.
I've done
I
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Karen game that I was playing, and it was like we're in a dome, and the dome is this big, it is this many hexes, and each one we went into, we would draw like what was on there and its relation and like what we encountered on the hex thing. And it was really cool to fill out the map and be like, oh wow, this is what was in there. Like, oh, we do have to go back to the trash pile. This was here. What's the
Hmm.
fastest way, or how do we avoid, the horrible giant rat that was in there?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and especially when like you're in a campaign and you've got a map that your players are filling out. Eventually, it's like a thing that they get to take with them at the end.
Hmm.
Like okay, like I filled this map out, right? Like this is a treasure.
Which keep that in your back pocket, because we actually have a question directly related to that we will get to, of like
Awesome.
people filling stuff out, because yeah, I think it's really cool and helpful.
So
And
do I.
uh I guess we've got several questions. So I have a few more things that I'm very curious about, but I want to get into questions, because I have some from chat here and also some from the Discord that I think are very good, and also that people want answers for. So great time for it.
Yeah.
And if we have time, I'll ask more. And if people have more questions, let us know. We'll answer them too. Dave Pickley. There's a way to say that. It says, how do you avoid the pitfall of the invisible wall? Stuck on an island, no one explores past the mountains, etc., etc. So you have like, this is the map, and no one is allowed to leave outside of the map. And I think that works for both like battle maps as a small area, but also bigger maps as well. And I think answers for both. But do you have thoughts on?
For me, like my players are generally polite enough to constrain themselves to the maps, which is very helpful for me, because I don't have to think too far about what's happening beyond the borders of the map.
Do you
Uh,
in like a world map thing, or
so sometimes I try and use that to my advantage, right? So for example, in this world that I built, Tarako, I built, it was an island world, right, with these island continents and then islands in the middle. And then for what was beyond, I actually map that had additional land that the players could get to that they never saw. So in case they ever decided to be like, we're going to go from this continent and just strike out west and be like, okay, like I would have something for them to go west to. But I never mentioned it to them as an option. And so I allowed them to do that if they wanted to, but not as like a thing that they had to do. It was not necessary to the campaign or to the story. I'm trying to think on like a battle map level what the invisible wall means.
I think because I've if you have a big enough map, I feel like you can pretty much go. It will take you too long to get this far away, and also you probably don't want to go that far because the fight isn't there, or you'll leave a friend behind.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
But even that, sometimes, like if I don't build a map big enough, or if I'm playing a game and the map isn't big enough, I'll feel that sometimes where it's like, oh, I want to go around this tree, but it's
Yeah,
not built, and I'll feel a
right,
little bad.
right. I would say size your maps up a little bit. Like just size them up, give them a few extra like squares on every side just in case.
Mm, also good.
That's probably the easiest way that you can handle that.
I think for on bigger maps of the invisible walls of like your region and your world maps, I think also just if players are constantly trying to get out of the map, that it may be more of an issue of like, oh, you need more things within the area you have that are points of interest that they are intrigued by, or that they know they want to or should go to. Um,
Mhm.
and then they'll be like, oh, I gotta go there. Oh, what is this? Your sentient trees worshipped by the orcs in that area. Like
Mhm.
a thing like that where it's like, oh, here's a little thing where when you have like, well, we've explored everything here, we must go beyond. I think
Mhm.
that's a possibility. And then you don't have to kind of build up those walls specifically. Like,
Right.
and then also, um, kind of have again a little bit of foreshadowing into a later question of like, well, what do your players want to find? And then rather than an invisible wall, oh, okay, well, just beyond the map on this side is
Mhm.
the carnival that you've been looking for. Yep, that's where it sets up. So like having something like that where you're able to work with them on what the boundaries are. And like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that that's an excellent point. Like, if they're trying to get off of your regional or world map, then it sounds like they want to do some exploring in wilderness. They want to do some exploring in a place where nobody else has gone. Like, if that's what your players are telling you, if they're trying to get off of the map. So, I would adjust your game to provide them what it is that they're looking for. They're looking for kind of wilderness exploration and, going where no one has gone before, right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
clearly the drive that your table is looking for. So make your map bigger and provide enough space for them to do that.
Yeah, I think that is good. Also, thanks for the raid. Is Estil? You can tell me how to pronounce that. Hi. Oh, you're a World of Darkness, Jim? Love World of Darkness. Thanks for popping by and bringing people with him. Et C. Lu Pium. Got it. Will I remember that? We'll all find out. Sandy on YouTube had a question on the same question. How would you get your players to get beyond the wall, especially if they want them, if you want them to explore, like the island or whatever is beyond it? I think like some good story bait is always really good. Of like, oh, a thing that you want. Legend tells that just beyond the northern islands is the MacGuffin.
Yep. Just tell them that nobody ever goes there. As soon as you tell them that nobody ever goes there, they're going to insist on going there.
just to prove it wrong. Like, well, someone's got to go there.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly and precisely what will happen. At least that's how my players operate anyway. Where I'm like, oh, this is nope, no one goes there. And they're like, well, why not? Why doesn't anyone go there? What do you mean it's a secret island?
I think that's super table dependent, because I've definitely played with people who was like, no one goes there, and they'd be like, well, then we're gonna fuck right off. There is no way. People aren't there for a good reason, and we're not gonna find out why.
Yes, very table dependent. I think that is definitely the case. It depends on if your players are contrary or not. If they're contrary, just tell them no one ever goes there. Legend says.
Yeah, so very, again, kind of leading into what the table wants or kind of how they work at something. Another great way is like you can give them a job of like, oh, hey, rough and tumble looking adventurers, I'm taking a caravan north and need some protection. Free food and payment if you get us there alive. It's like, cool. Now they have a reason to go up there. Like, especially if you have an NPC they love and they're going on a trip, or like you could do a nice little, what sort of sob stories your players fall for, and you just add that to the flavor of the group that is going up there.
I have definitely kidnapped NPCs before and brought them to locations just to drag in like the PCs there.
Of course, if you're not kidnapping NPCs, what are you doing with your NPCs? Like, come on.
Exactly.
I'm sorry to say there's a place called Death Cave. It's only accessible during low tide. Had to get inside. Slick downward slope. Once you get in, it's near impossible to get back out before the time cuts in. Yep, and that's how you get certain players to go right down in there. Because they want to go to Death Cave and find out what's in Death Cave. Other than probably a decent number of corpses.
I will say, if you have this area on your map, like it's actually visible on your map that you want your players to go to, adding points of interest that don't make 100% sense is a great way to lure players there as well. So, for example, you can have the Tower of Yellow and just refuse to explain it if they ask. Like, oh, it's just the Tower of Yellow.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah. Vague things, uncertainty, something that leads into a question, adding pretty much anything and then putting a question mark at the end of it. Also, where it's like, what do you mean city? Question mark. Is it a
is it a city or is it
not? Yeah. Like, yeah, it's really like, or like a little thing only visible in eclipse. Like,
ooh, that's fun. I like that. Eclipse City. You can literally only visit it during an eclipse.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm a big fan of this place we just made up.
Oh man. Okay, I'm back pocketing that one for later.
Good. I feel like if we get through a whole stream and somebody hasn't taken something and gone, oh, I'm going to use this, I have failed as a RPG help desker. Like,
I understand. Yeah.
So Dave, if that answers your question, please let us know. If not, then tell us and we'll try again. Because I think it's a good question. Let me go to one that we had on Discord. That was, what is the best way to build a world map out while your players are discovering things? And you can encourage your players to want to make the map for themselves. This is that foreshadowing one I was talking about.
Hex maps.
Yeah. I think hex maps extremely helpful in this regard. Like you already said a bunch on it, but if you have more to pitch for why hex map good, I will listen.
You'll find that like a lot of things that are built into like the games like actually have their origins in hex maps. Like it's somewhat foundational to a lot of games I've discovered. Hex maps are great because you can determine what the distance is. You basically just throw that hex map on there and say like, okay, this is 30 miles per hex. I strongly recommend reading Alexandrian's article on hex maps. They're very, very good. They're very, like Alexandrian is, they're very, very detailed and long, but it's also very lucid and very helpful for learning the intricacies of hex maps. But yes, I would say a hex map is the way to go. Create a hex map for yourself that has all of the things on it, all of the distances, all of the different locations, all of the keys. Then create one for your players that has some environment, some points of interest that are well known, but then leave the rest of it blank. And then just say, okay, we know. Yep, that's the link.
Okay, I'll add it to chat then. Go ahead.
We know, for example, that these two cities are 30 miles away from each other. You put, the hex map in. If you're doing a regional hex crawl, you might want to do like 6 miles per hex. If you're doing a world map, like you were talking about, you might want to do 24 to 30 miles per hex. And then give your players the blank. It should still have some information on it. So whatever the locals would know, they know where the local river is. They know where the mountains are. They know that there's a swamp in the area. They're aware that the next city over is about roughly 60 miles away. And they know that there is a, mountain range in between. So you can have all of that information on the map for them already. And then give them the blank map, this blankish map, and say, okay, as you explore, you go and you fill in what's in these various hexes. And then their goal, obviously, is to try and get their map to resemble your map that you have privately as much as possible. So they're exploring and trying to fill in different things and going to different areas. They're getting lost. They're backtracking. They're coming, they're finding paths. They're creating a path if they want to, a great simple adventure that you can set your players to is there are these two villages. One of them has all of the lumber. One of them has all of the fish. They would make great trade partners, but there's no road. Can you build a road? Can you find the path for a road to go to? Can you find a path for between these two cities? And then, probably the straight path is not going to work because there's, those orcs and tigers are in that area. And so you can't go straight through there. So you need to take the road around somewhere. But just as simple, like, hey, we want to construct a road between these two towns. Can you help us do that? Can you map out the way to get there?
I do like that. Yeah, that's a good way to incorporate. Yeah, you learn about all these things on the way when you're trying to do this other job. And then also, well, I don't care that the tigers are endangered. We want to make this road and we're going to build it through here anyway. That's a choice. And then you can allow that to change the world in a way for better or worse.
Yeah, that's the exciting thing is that the map is alive. It's very much changing based on the player's choices. Different things are going to happen based on what choices the players make. Like if you go way back into the origins of D&D, when their hexes were 6 miles, you notice that everything related to dragons happens in 6 mile increments. Like their environmental effects extend 6 miles out. They're like all of these things happen in 6 mile increments specifically because of 6 mile hexes. So you would have you would encounter the environmental effects of a dragon well before you encountered the dragon itself or its lair.
Yeah.
And so you get to think about things like that as you're building the map out too. Stick a dragon somewhere, throw out some environmental effects, and I think it's the brass dragons that do fake paths that run through the desert, and
Oh,
you can
that's
have
fun.
all kinds of fun.
That's really cool. I did not know that either. That's really neat. Um, so dragons are like AI data centers. Yep. Their path of destruction goes up much further than their physical presence. That is true.
And that is accurate.
uh, Another thing I would say for building out the map is specifically rewarding your players talking to NPCs with map stuff getting filled out. Like when they are chatty at the bar, when they roll well, when they talk to someone, when they engage with the world in some way. They now know something that can be helpful for them. They know that there are carnivorous trees in this area, and that's where they should avoid. And otherwise, they were going to walk right through it. Um, or where something valuable that they're looking for might be a natural resource, or unnatural resource isn't the correct term, but
Mhm.
some sort of created thing that's useful. Um, and then they also ask how to get players involved in the map making. And I've mentioned this before. I'm curious about your opinion on this too. I've mentioned on here before on the Superhero Thursday game I play in. It's the whole city that we've made was made by us. Like everybody's pitching in. It goes, "Oh, we're going to this area. What's in it? What's it called? What's its main thing? What's its views on, on superheroes? What's important in this area?" Like those are all things that we'll all discuss and pitch ideas for. And I think that you can do that on a world map scale of cool, this hex is here. What's here? You've got me into
Mhm.
hexes now. So what's in this hex? And someone's like, that's where this world's Tortuga is, and all the pirates hang out there. And it's like, oh, great. All right. Well,
Mhm.
was it on the map before? No. And it's not near water. Weird. Okay. Well, how do we make that make sense? Maybe there's an
Um,
underground waterway that pops up there. Or if the map hasn't been filled out yet, perfect. This hex above it, cool. That's where the water is. We're gonna fill that in. Um,
mhm.
yeah, and just let them fill it out with things that they are interested in, that they want to see, and that they want to interact with.
Mhm. Another great wing, and just piggybacking off of that, is just asking your players what it is that they want to see, and just adding those details into the map before the game even begins.
Mm.
Right? You can do it before the game begins, you can do it as the game is going, but I think incorporating what it is that your players want into the map is a fantastic idea.
I It's honestly changed how I've viewed area mapping of just the amount of, and it's again table dependent. Some people aren't as want that level of control over it. Like they want their character, and their character interacts with stuff, and that's all they're comfortable with or all they want to
Mhm.
do. Or they just want to
Mhm.
hit things with hammer, and this is not hit thing with hammer. So
Mhm.
they will patiently wait until they hit thing with hammer. Um, but I think especially for players that want to engage with it, it is a great way to do it, and possibly encourage those who aren't currently engaging with it in that way.
Mhm.
Where a person with hammer does want to find place that is nothing but nails that they can
Nothing
hit.
but nails. Mm.
Uh, Evan asking, will it require a big amount of art when making the map change in real time? Kind of on the, I think that's related to our which I agree of the idea of a living map where it should be something
Mhm.
that is actively, not constantly changing. There are things, especially bigger things, that should stay there. Mountains generally stationary when they're not. Good
Mhm.
times though. Um, I think that depends on how detailed your drawings are for all of these things. If it's digital and you're using symbols like you were talking about, that's drag and drop, move things around pretty easy. Um,
Mhm.
if you're drawing things like on erase and draw, or just use arrows, be like, this was here, it's now over here. Cool. And we all know what this means because we were all here when it was made.
Yeah, hex crawls, real simple. Don't need a whole lot of art. All you need is symbols and icons. And as long as everybody knows what each of those icons means, then you're basically good. I would argue that changing a hex map is a lot easier than changing a fully designed regional map. The one that has like actual forest represented on it, which I do like making, and I do make those as well. Not everything in my world is hex maps. That's just what my brain is on right now because it's what I've been working on.
It's just 90% hex maps.
Just 90% hex maps. Yeah, but changing things up on a hex map is easy. Changing things up on a just kind of world map that doesn't have the hexes where you're not using symbols and iconography, that could be much more difficult. I would still do it for the fun of it just because I enjoy that kind of thing. But I would say if you're going to be using a system where your players are changing the map as they go, I would use a hex map system, like 100%. I wouldn't use just a regular map because it would just create too much trouble down the road.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and also the idea of like, well, if we need to move something, or like, oh, we need to change this, we're running out of paper, we need to change the scale of this without just taping another sheet to it, which also an option. Knowing, oh, if we change the distance of these things, then we have to change distance of everything. Hex does make sense. Really selling me on this. Dang.
I'm going to get you in a hex crawl, and you're going to love it.
I'm here for it. The one I've done was enjoyable. Yeah, any other things for encouraging players for making maps and helping fill out stuff?
See, my players all find it very exciting, so they don't require a whole lot of encouragement.
Okay.
That's I'm very lucky in that regard. I would say it's possible you will have a table where only one person is that interested in the thing. Make them official map maker. Make them and reward them with XP or, advantage or whatever system you're using. Give them some kind of reward for taking on the extra burden of making the map and keeping track of it. But if you can make that a role, that used to be how things worked. You would have a role of like, okay, here's the person, we're going into the dungeon. My job is to map out the dungeon as we go. And then you would have another person whose job is to take notes, and another person whose job is, the party face or whatever. Like, it used to be much more regimented and segmented like that. We don't do that as much anymore. But having the role of map maker, as long as you have one person who's interested enough in it, then you should be good.
Cool. So if that answers your question, please let us know. And if not, also let us know. We'll try again. But I want to get to Gary, who gives $5 Australian. Good morning, Gary. It's very early there, as I've learned from talking to you on Discord. Saying, okay, I'm up now and I've caught up. Been wondering what is the best way to deal with combat maps that have a lot of up and down elevation. Thanks, Ohms. Actually, your question, we haven't gotten to it yet. It is on my list. So yeah, battle map that we're dealing with a 2D plane, but you have, I believe, their question in that they went into more detail in Discord is like on the side of a mountain, or is like a lot of changing elevation that they want representative, because I also think that's cool. That's way better than a flat map, is something where it's like, oh, you have, all sorts of things. How do you, as the professional map maker here, deal with something that has a lot like that is both functionally clear and also works and is fun?
So when I'm playing digitally, I play on Foundry Virtual Tabletop, and Foundry Virtual Tabletop has two things in it that allow me to do multiple levels. One is they have a terrain option, so you can mark certain parts of your map as terrain, and it will acknowledge it and it will treat it that way in terms of visibility. So that's really helpful. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that Roll20 has a similar thing in it as well.
What is it?
And
How does it mark it as higher terrain?
You basically encircle it, like you basically indicate that it's higher terrain. And what it will do is if you are next to it, it will treat it as almost like a wall. You can't see through it, right?
Oh, okay.
But instead of treating it like a wall, you can walk onto it. And as you walk onto it, the things on the other side become visible, as
Got
though
it.
you were walking up a hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the technology is there. If you're using a program like Foundry Virtual Tabletop or Roll20, I think Roll20, not 100% sure on that. I'm not a huge fan of Roll20.
Hmm.
And the other way is that there's a program or a mod for Foundry Virtual Tabletop called Levels. I believe that this is now built into the base programming, so you don't necessarily need the mod for it. But at least for a long time, you needed a mod called Levels, and that allowed you to create first, second, third levels of your thing. So, for example, you've got a caravan. The caravan has 2 stories on it, right? You want to be able to have somebody go up to the second story of the caravan without leaving the map. So you would just in levels, you would just indicate, okay, I would take a second level, I would place it down on top of that first level. I would indicate to the program, this is a second level.
Okay.
And then it would allow the player to teleport up to that level or back down from that level. Again, this is all specific to Foundry Virtual Tabletop. If you're doing it in person, you obviously just build the thing and have the multiple levels, and it's not a big deal. It's easy to render 3D things in 3D, but if you're on a 2D plane, the easiest way to do it, I think, is to utilize the technology that exists within programs. Trying to build it onto your map, I've seen people do it. I have never been satisfied with the results, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult to represent visually, just attempting to represent it visually. For me, I rely on the tools in virtual tabletop to actually get it so that it's readable and maneuverable for the players.
Okay. How would you, if it was a physical game, how would you attempt to do that?
Jesse, I would waste way too much time building an actual caravan.
You
That's
just-
exactly what I would do.
So much cardboard and hot glue.
Yes, exactly what I would do. I would actually just, and it would probably look janky as heck, but it would be a 2-story caravan.
That's
And
true.
what I would do is I would leave one of the walls off of it so
Mhm.
that it's visible, maybe 2 of the walls off of it, so that like the side walls, so that it's visible all the way around the table, that there is a second level that you can go up onto. Picturing it in my head, I don't know if I'm describing it very well, but I would build like a little 2-story caravan. I would take 2 of the sides off so that it's visible from either side of the table,
Mhm.
and then I would just draw a hex, or not a hex, a grid onto the caravan itself, so that you could see what your movement is within the caravan.
Yeah. Gary's saying looks nervously at 3D printer. Yeah. It's- you could just 3D print some terrain. Ah.
Gary's got a 3D printer. Gary, we can be friends.
Gary bringing up more so how easily to visually indicate it by players, colors, etc. That's actually what I was thinking, was if you have, because I've done it where it's just like drawing on a whiteboard, or like,
Mhm.
a 2D plane on, I'm just building it out in Foundry, but just, with the freehand tool. And I've done that where it's like layers of like, oh, here's a ledge, here's a ledge, here's a ledge. And Gary, I was thinking the same thing of colors, of like having like, oh, okay, pink to red being like, oh, pink is 5 feet, like red is 10 feet, dark red is 15 feet, being able to, and then if you, depending on how many variations of levels you have, probably start to get more colors involved than just one. But yeah, like clear colors, and then having a little legend of like, this is how high this is. And
Mhm.
having some sort of color grade understanding, like if you use like the rainbow flag color, it's like, oh, okay, I know the order of those mostly, and it's easy to look up, and it could just be right there. And it's like, oh, here's the thing. So yeah, I think that might be a really useful way, as a as someone playing it, I would find that very useful. Of like, oh, I know this is now green is 30 feet above red, and so I know how far this is from me.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Colors are a really great way to indicate that as well. Um, if you're playing in person too, and you have terrain, you have the option. I would strongly recommend like purchasing a bunch of 1-inch cubes that you can use for elevation as well, because you can just stack those and indicate how high up somebody is because
Mm.
they're little 5-inch, or little 1-inch cubes that each represent 5 feet. So for every 5 feet, you can stack a cube underneath somebody's figurine.
And then, yeah, well, but then they'd have to, I guess you'd still need some level of of understanding of how big thing is. So like if they move down a level, like, okay, well, how many cubes do I need to remove? But then that cubes would make a very quick, like, oh, okay, this is how high they are. I
Each
do
cube is
like
5
that.
feet. Just take out 5 feet anytime they
Yeah.
move up or down.
Boop, boop.
Yep.
And yeah, just corresponding wherever they're standing on the map. Red is this many, you remove that many. Green is this many, you add that many. Yeah, that would be a good visual indicator too. And it also adds a little more like tactile's the wrong word because they're not touching it, but like the visual understanding of like, I know that green and red are 30 feet apart from another, but our minis are still next to each other. Just seeing a mini physically be that much higher and like that it has a tangibility to it.
It does. Yeah.
Let's see. I've already got a dark brown ground level. Going through stone and stand indicate higher levels. Okay, yeah, sounds like you're on the right track. Yeah, I think that actually very natural colors too. And using a projector from above, Discord suggests stands. They're already built. Oh, stands. Yeah, I think we talked about this in a Discord too. Some of us did having the stands and then having a die next to the stand or under the stand that holds it to indicate how high up they are, and it's a number you can roll up and down.
That's very cool.
We'll also make them a little less precarious than 30 styrofoam cubes.
Yes.
And Tally bring it up. Too many stacked cubes and the game becomes dread. That's true. Actually, that's
Yep.
a very fun way. Oh no. That would be cool to like indicate how tough something is if you have a physical game and you are moving them, and like every time something bad happens they have to put their mini on another cube and they still have to move it, and now it's like, do I even want to move, because what if I fall over? Like, something bad will happen. Oh no, that sounds
I love that.
great. Oh,
I love that.
there's several things where I'm a huge advocate for online games. Like, play games however you can, with whoever you can, whenever you can. But yeah, there's some things like that where it's like the physicality of it just makes a difference. Like, you can't do Jenga in a virtual tabletop.
Yeah.
Like,
Jenga is an in-person game.
yeah, and like you can't
That's
do
true.
this. It's like, oh, that stacking and having to move. Oh no, I've got to use that one.
Yeah, definitely. Having a bunch of like little 1-inch cubes for your tabletop games is like, it's a necessary thing. Like, you got to have them.
Yeah.
You'll use them for 1,000 different things.
It's true. My problem is like there's the thing I do where it's like, oh, there's the cubes, that's so useful. Oh, there's this terrain, it's so useful. Oh, it's all these other things, and then it's like I don't have storage for all this. Like, I don't have a place to keep it when I'm not actively doing the thing
Yep.
with it.
Yep, that's real.
Gary says, thanks guys, you're welcome. Do you have anything more to add to this, I guess, before?
No,
Okay.
I think it was a great question though.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And like, if this answered your question, let us know. If you have an additional question on it, Gary, please let us know. We'll try to answer it. And do keep me informed of how this goes, because I'm very intrigued at what you will do and how it'll work. And like what worked better than expected, what didn't work quite as well expected, what you will try again next time. incredibly fascinating. Also, Captain President over on Twitch, thanks for gifting 6 subs for people. Really appreciate that. Ooh. Tallying saying digital, you could do an operational type thing. Every time something happens, the path gets longer or narrower. If the cursor hits something, something bad happens. Oh, that's true. I'm gonna have to try that. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds
Talk on Twitch asked specifically for you, Marmot. Did you ever draw yourself into a corner where you added too much detail to a map that you'd rather not have there later for some reason, or something like that? Is what they're asking.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I have definitely put things onto maps that the players fixated on that I did not intend for the players to fixate on. That has been a thing that I think every map maker has run into in the past. It's why I'm very intentional now about what I put on the map. Like everything that's on the map has some kind of purpose. In general, the rough answer to your question is no. I'm never upset by having so much detail on my maps. I've made insanely complex maps before, and I love every little sorry detail that I have added to every single one of them. But when I'm making like battle maps or just something that's like for an encounter, I try to be very intentional about every single thing that I put onto the map now, because I know that if I put like a decorative chest into a corner and I don't think about it, the players are going to think about it. They're going to be like, I'm going to spend my entire action to go over and open that chest. And I'm going to be like, crap. They're going to waste an entire action on something that I didn't think about because I just put a piece of decoration there and maybe it's nothing. And, but I don't want it to be nothing because they're about to burn an action on it, like that kind of thing. And so, have I ever painted myself into a corner with details? Yes, I have added details that later on I was like, oh, I really wasn't expecting you to pay attention to that. Could you not? But
turns out it was an illusion. Ooh, there's nothing there.
I made a map for the module Courts of the Shadow Fae, which I finished running earlier this year. And that map has, for the court itself, has about 67 rooms in it. And is on 3 different levels as well. So I had to figure out levels. I had to figure out like details for each of the rooms. I ended up spending a ridiculous amount of time on that map, and it is incredibly detailed. It was so large that Foundry Virtual Tabletop wouldn't let me put it in as one thing. I had to split it into 3 portions in order to read the map. But it was worth it. Like all of that detail lasted for a 3-year campaign. So in that sense, the map was just as detailed as it needed to be. But yes, I have painted myself into a corner, if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's fair. Maps are wild. All right, we have several more questions, so I'm gonna move on from that one. But that was a great answer. And Talk says thank you.
Of course,
this is a great answer.
Thank you.
Evan wanted to know, how much inspiration do you seek from the real world map when map making?
It depends a lot on, I think I look more at regional maps. If I'm making a world map, I don't really look at other world maps. I'm just kind of making a world map. I'm inventing a world. The world can be whatever it is. There are some basic rules that I follow, like rivers, not having rivers split and other things that like kind of happen in the real world. But, like the longest river in the world, it travels from south to north in the real world, and that's supposed to be one of those rules on map making that rivers never go south to north. Yeah, well, the longest river in the world on Earth does, right? So there are a lot of rules are meant to be broken, and a wizard did it is always a perfectly valid answer for why
It's
something
true.
is the way it is on your map. Regional maps, I will tend to look a lot more for inspiration. There are some very cool like regions on our planet. Like I just love looking at like Google Earth and like finding some very like a bizarre isthmus or something and being like, okay, what's the history of the people who lived on this isthmus? Because they're right between two powerful nations and maybe they have their own unique culture that is like somehow separate from both of them. And then I can just sort of start inventing things like based off of that. So yeah, geography is very inspirational for me. Google Earth, very inspirational for me. How much time do I spend doing it? Not that much. I spend more time in my imagination than I do looking for inspiration.
Mm.
But there are definitely some great pieces of geography out there. And like just doing a random trip through Google Earth and like finding a random place and then going with that is awesome. You can also do city maps really well from that. I based one map off of Google Earth's Timbuktu. Um, and that was a really, really cool map that I really enjoyed making.
That's
Yeah.
pretty neat. I that's so man, I've never tried that with Google Earth. I feel like maybe I should, but I also know I have very little patience, so I'll be like, "Wow, I didn't find something immediately. Nah, I think I'm just gonna make it up."
Hmm.
Uh, I think for me, if someone shows me a cool thing, like if you're like, "Look at this," I'll be like, "Wow, what good inspiration." But I probably never look for that in the real world, other than a few things where it's like Hong Kong, very much good inspiration if you're looking at that for like a dense city, like
Hmm.
um, stuff like that. I feel like can work really well. Do you find for do you put a like a time limit on how long you're willing to tool around on Google Earth, or like how do you? Because I feel like I would either spend no time or too much time. Like, where do you find a threshold for that?
I don't see. I have ADHD, so I don't actually have a sense of time.
Valid.
So what limit myself? Usually, inspiration comes pretty quickly. I will say that.
Okay.
Like usually, it doesn't take that long of tooling around before something inspiring shows up. You know, you just have to approach it with that very like creative mindset. You know, and with your mind open to like, okay, but what if this was this instead?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think that's a great way to look at it. Of yeah, here's a cool thing. How do I change it in that regard? I think
Yeah.
that's very smart. Uh,
Yeah.
Gargadargus bringing up, I think someone, or sorry, Miss Harmony saying national parks as a great
Yes.
inspiration. Yeah, those are really good. And Gargadargus, yes, there is they're not just making, they've already made the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park RPG. That already does exist.
Oh, dope. That
Of the
sounds so
great
fun.
landmark, the Mystery Flesh Pit. The very real thing. Yep. I do love posts about that because all of them are, it's very SCP style thing where it's like, we're all going
Mhm.
to like talk about this as if it's real. And like
Yes.
the level of discomfort in that is wonderful. Um,
It's wonderful.
Evan, for my answer to your question, I don't really find a lot of inspiration on world maps in the real world map, except kit bashing. I think, and I didn't expect this to work, and then I tried it, and it was surprisingly fun, where you just pick something that exists in the world, and you just cut it out, and then you pick something else, and you cut it out, and you have like Long Island, New York, um, and Alaska, and then you go, these are 2 points on a map. How can I make them work together? And you could rotate and you can squash and you can stretch and you decide what they are. They're not actually New York. You're just dealing with shapes. And then you go, oh, this is how they fit together. Cool. What is this now? That is very inspiring because it gives you some very interesting shapes of like, you take county lines from Arizona and make stuff with it, like just mixing them and moving them around. Like it doesn't have to be like a state. And
Mhm.
those are just fun, weird shapes that you can do cool things with. And this county inspires you about the river that goes south to north, and that's what you can make it be. I find that
Yeah,
helpful. Okay.
that is really cool. And it's a great example of a great creativity exercise, which is just to take something and to take two disparate things and try to make them work together. Like the moment you think this can't work together, asking yourself, but how could I make it work together is one of the like roots of creativity. So we did this creative exercise in college where this guy came in and he was talking about, this was around game development. He was talking about, okay, design a farming sim that takes place in a 5-foot cube, right? So you would have to like basically take these two very disparate like concepts, right, that like don't belong together and be like, okay, how do I mash these together to make these actually work? And I think it's a great creative exercise. And if you're using map shapes, if you're using, you know, states, if you're using countries, if you're using whatever it is, taking two things that don't normally belong together and insisting on making them fit together is a brilliant way to spur your creativity.
Wholeheartedly agree. I'm not. I think that was that was Evan. Evan, if you're still here, if that answers your question, let us know. And if not, we'll try again. Someone else in Discord asked, "Was a good place for getting inspiration on maps?" My first attempt at a campaign, I grabbed maps from the old Shannara books. Shannara, Shannara. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from old Shannara books. And in a lot of older fantasy books, loved including maps in them. But maybe there are other cool places to get easy maps to make easy grid maps out of. It's a great question. I mean, hang on. I don't know if you have an answer for this because I know that there's someone that I follow on Blue Sky that just does lots of maps, but I have to
Yeah,
find them.
there are a ton of amazing map makers out there, way better than me, who are making incredible maps for free that you can just take. And I have learned the hard way to actually search for maps that resemble what I want before I just decide to make my own. Because I will just decide to make my own every time, and then sometimes I'll come across something and I'll be like, "Wow, that's way better than anything I could have made." Like, um, uh, yeah, I think older fantasy books are great for inspiration. Fun fact, you can turn off the AI suggestions on Pinterest now. I don't know if you know that, but
Oh, thank goodness the
Pinterest was
website
ruined.
saved.
Yes, it was ruined for me for a long time, but you can actually go into your settings and turn off all of the AI stuff now. So that makes it a usable website once again for searching for things. Although it's only as useful as finding the image, you still need to reverse Google image search and figure out who actually made it because Pinterest is very, very bad about accreditation.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of my inspiration there for maps and
I think
other things.
oh sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Oh, okay. There was one. I don't have a ton of like, oh, I go here for maps. Books are a great one, like old fantasy books, modern fantasy books. I think were a great one. I think there was take an orange and try your best to peel it in one go, and then lay it flat, and that's your map. Like, so it's like you'll have like natural kind of ridges and weird things, and it's coming from a round source. So like it has kind of a eerily, yeah, I could believe this landmass quality to it. That is a fun inspiration. I have done that one where it's like peeling fruit to just do that. Banana, not as
That's
exciting,
cool.
pretty straightforward every time, but oranges more so. I feel like inspiration is not drawing the edges. Like if you draw like this is the continent, don't necessarily assume all sides of it are water or mountains. Leave it as this is the marked area, but you don't know what's directly beyond it. Like you haven't explored that yet. And then you can go, you know what was a cool thing? This, and then again, kind of kit bashing it on there. Or just having that space to move on.
Mhm.
I find that to be helpful in the inspiration department of not always saying, here are the hard lines of where a map should end or start.
Right, leaving some space for creative interpretation.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
good.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that's a great idea. I've done the thing where you toss dice onto a piece of paper
Oh,
and then just
yes.
draw like the contents around the dice. That works really, really well.
There's a whole system of that where it's like you would put different dice in it, and each dice represents something different, like fields, forests, lakes, or bodies of water, cities, towns, and then you roll them, and then you trace it, and then you mark which dice was where. So it's like, well, this city's by a desert and a body of water. Okay, well, here's how that's gonna work. And like kind of what you're saying before about like the hexes, you're going to find a way to make them connect and interact with each other, where
hmm
now that you have these three elements together, oh, okay, naturally you're going to start putting together how they work and what's special about that.
hmm
Tox is reading the coffee grounds. Yeah, you can also do that.
Yeah.
Throw some coffee grounds on a map, kind of, however, where they're real thin, be like, cool. Where they're high, that's high elevation.
And then you can prophecy how the campaign's going to go.
Exactly. I guess you don't have to use coffee grounds, but like, what are you using them for? Use those old coffee
Right.
grounds to make a map.
Brilliant idea.
So if that answers the question, let me know. And if not, also let us know. And we'll try again. I lost my place. Oh no.
Oh no.
Actually, I think that was the questions. Oh yay, we got through all of them. There's been
Fantastic.
so many weeks where I've been like, oh no, we haven't gotten through all the questions. I'm so glad we got through all of them. So if someone has a new question, you can ask because we now have time. But yeah, you've got me more excited about maps. Like I feel like all of this and what everybody's saying is super helpful and is neat. And like, I don't know, more exciting about like trying something and not being as hard on myself on it, and like just, I don't know, just as I said before, worth trying.
I think you especially are really into collaborative play, and I think
Mhm.
that collaborative map building is something that would work really well for you as a result. Like
I
that style of map making and having something that you're like not just constructing with your players, but also that they are discovering as they explore would be something that you would actually enjoy.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because I've always kind of viewed it as when I'm playing that it's my responsibility to build it out,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that, yeah, I really shouldn't. That I don't have to leave it all on me. Like, yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Hmm.
There's just yeah, you could do something. I mean, it sounds like, I mean, from the style of games, just from knowing you and the style of games that you play, and from what I've heard you describe your table as being like, it's a very collaborative environment. So build a collaborative map. Like that's the type of thing that you're into. And so and then leave space for them to discover things. And I think that you'll have a jolly good time.
I mean, I think you're right. I got nothing to add to that other than I agree. Oh, Gildan Yedick, thank you. With $5 over on YouTube. It says, what's better, a large map with endless possibilities or a small map where everything is campaign relevant? I think that's very personal, but I know my answer. What do you have an opinion? What's your thought?
I think it's very, very campaign dependent. Um, I think I land somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do maps that have like I like to surprise myself on maps. I like to put things on maps that I'm not even sure what it is. Like I like to and then have the players tell me what that is, as we go. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy that kind of thing. So I want the map to be a surprise for me as well. Which means having unexplored spaces, which means having vast open areas, which means having, things that I like, points of interest that I label that I don't even know what it means, like the Tower of Yellow. Like, yes, absolutely. That kind of thing. Mwah, perfect. I think that's for me better than having everything be campaign relevant. Uh, to me, what's exciting is having a big map and then having them go someplace I didn't expect, do something I didn't expect, and somehow being able to make it campaign relevant anyway. Like, I like that kind of challenge as a GM. I
Yeah.
really enjoy where I'm like, I'm going to bring this into the campaign somehow, even though it wasn't originally part of the plan. I'm going to make that like happen. So that way I'm still surprised by the things that happen, but I can still draw it back into the main story.
Yes.
That's my answer.
A good new third option. Love it. That's I feel like usually the best option. I think I would lean with you on like I want a little bit of both. I want that middle ground of like cuz like just a large map with endless possibilities like doesn't mean it's populated with things that I want to interact with.
Mhm.
Like it is just large. So I think if I had to choose between those two, I would want a small map where everything was campaign relevant. Like because that gives me as someone who flounders in an open environment, it gives me all of the points of interest on what do I think is the most important thing to do next. And then will engagement with something change that? And it's like, well, we were going to go to this, but now that we have this new information, actually what we need to do is goes another point of interest. So I like a smaller map that gives me a sense of purpose. I think personally.
Yeah, I think that's totally valid.
But also I do want some a little bit of endless possibilities out there just beyond where the campaign relevant map is
Mhm.
because you want to
Just
have
past
room to grow.
the wall.
Just past that invisible wall. Uh It's a fair answer, and I've been conceptualizing something in the middle, a map that expands and contracts. Like physically, like the world itself is going whoop, or like a map that you kind of here's the world map, and now we're gonna zoom in, we're gonna contract, and now we're right here. Um, because both sound cool. And also
Mhm.
very curious how you'd make a changing map. Because that sounds really cool. I guess if you made a hex map in a program where each hex was its own like asset, and then you could move them around. Oh, because then
Oh, yeah.
you could do a world on like a clockwork spinning platter and like how they interact with each other and like them
Mhm.
spinning at different intervals. Would be
Mhm.
very fun, which also would be really cool because then you could have things like, oh, well, do you want to go to this place? It's coming by tomorrow and it's on the big wheel right now, so it won't be back for another month if you don't get on it now.
That's very cool. I love that idea.
That sounds like a nightmare, but also very exciting. And
Yeah. Difficult to plan, but
mhm.
absolutely really exciting to play in.
Though, on the subject of not filling everything out immediately and like filling stuff out, you could have it so they don't know all of everything that's on there because it is hard to map and they're not, you know, asking all the right questions yet. And then you can be like, oh, well, it turns out that, and then inserting a place that is, oh, it's on, they are aware of big wheel, they are aware that things on big wheel rotations are less frequent, and the place that they might want to go is on there, and forcing them to choose that or not. And then it's like you're
Mhm.
playing with that middle ground of, I technically sort of foreshadowed this, but I also kind of made it up on the spot and pulled it out of my ass.
Mhm.
That hopefully they won't know. And then it's like, no, I absolutely planned this the whole way.
Yeah, totally the plan.
Miss Harmony mentioning Dark Tower series happens in a world where maps changed dramatically and were generally unreliable. That sounds fun.
I haven't read Dark Tower. I've heard good things though.
I've only read the first 2, and they're pretty good. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, the greatest thing ever, I have to keep reading. I kind of read it and was like, neat.
Neat.
I have other
Yeah.
things I would like to read more.
Mhm.
And then never went back. Shockingly, still things I want to read more. Because I'm also a slow reader, so like, I've only got so much time.
And there's so much to read.
There's so many things to read, and a lot of them really good.
Mhm.
Like, it's kind of upsetting. You know what's even worse? Every year, new ones come out, and they're
I
also
know.
good.
And they're also good.
What's up with
And then
that?
people are like, "Oh, you should also read those." And I'm like, "I'm still not caught up on the last 100 years
Yeah.
of writing."
You know, we've been writing for like thousands of years. Did you know that?
I know, it's wild.
There's so much written. Some of it not even fiction. Some of it's like actual things that
I
happen.
actually just reread the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Oh yeah.
Because I was yeah, it's a really fun read. Like it's if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into ancient Sumerian literature.
I gotta say, I've never read ancient Sumerian literature, so I don't know if I'm into it or not. I don't know if,
Well,
fits the vibe.
it's a classic piece of literature. It's something everyone should read at least once.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll add it to the list of things and
Of things that yeah. I always
like,
recommendations and
yeah, the 6 books on the thing. Oh, I also definitely had a library book on hold that I think went past me because I forgot to check.
oh no.
Well, that's another book I have to read.
Mhm.
And all the books sitting next to my nightstand where I'm like, I'll read before bed, but also my Steam Deck is right there and it's very fun to
Yeah.
play. And like there's words in games. It's kind of like reading. So,
It's a lot like reading.
yeah, it's a lot like
Some
reading.
book, some games are very book-like.
It is 6:00, so I'm gonna call us there. I am excited about maps. I really appreciate it. So thank you for talking about maps.
I'm excited to get you excited about maps, and I'm delighted to have been here. Thank you so much for having me.
If there was a thing to read about how to do hex crawls, would it be that Alexandria link or?
Yes, I
Okay.
would recommend reading that Alexandrian link. It is very thorough. You do not need to be that thorough in your hex crawls, but Alexandrian is not somebody who leaves out details, and so that it is very comprehensive.
Okay. I'm going to repost it for folks because it was a long time ago.
Mhm.
By recommendation, this post. I'll try and read it. It's on my list of things to read.
It's on the list.
This seems readable. I can read this. Oh, there's multiple parts. All right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is easy. And then that was
It's
part
not
1.
short. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you everybody who had questions. I really appreciate it. I love being able to talk with people about stuff and getting your questions and like things that are directly relative to what you're doing. Gary, best of luck on this Mad Max style mountain pass adventure you're doing. It
Yeah, we're
sounds
rooting for you,
awesome.
Gary.
Yeah. Also movement. Oh my gosh, that's a whole thing that I feel like we could have a whole stream on is like how to like use movement on a map. Because it's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
you want to get from point A to point B, but like are you physically moving stuff between? Like, are you like it's so much? And then you're running out of space, map space, very quickly when it's like, well, so it's like, oh, do you make each 5-foot square or hex like a larger distance? But then if someone like falls off a horse, how do you signify how far back they are if they're moving at different increments? Or like, I need to find a distance expert and talk because it's wild.
Yeah.
Hawkbird Tree. Thank you very much for gifting 5 subs over on YouTube. Or memberships, as they're called over there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Jessa, thank you very much for coming. Please plug the cool stuff you're doing so people can check you out while you're not here.
You can find me over on YouTube at Astral Marmot. I talk about game stuff and ADHD and how it relates to being a game master. My last video is a review of Courts of the Shadow Fae, which I had an excellent time making. My next video is going to be about hex crawls, actually. So hopefully you can have that to look forward to.
Ooh. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks again for everybody coming here. We will see you, well, not next week because I'm not here next week, but the week after that, I'll be back. So I hope you all have a great 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.